Hey there, viewers. You might want to sit down for this one. Because Beyonce's 13-year-old daughter, yeah, she just handed something to the feds that's got Parkwood spiraling, police radios glitching, and the internet convinced this is way bigger than music. What she leaked is real, and what it does, that's the part nobody's ready for. Courthouse. I didn't mean to be standing there that long. My socks were already soaked through from the puddle that gathered near the curb, and my phone kept vibrating with junk alerts I wasn't reading. I was just stuck there, waiting on something I didn't really understand yet. It was Friday afternoon outside the Wilshire Federal Annex, this square, ugly government building with peeling concrete walls and window strips that never opened. Everything about it felt half-forgotten, like it didn't belong in Los Angeles. No glam, no logos, just gray air and old gum on the sidewalks. It had rained early in the morning, not hard, just steady enough to leave a wet shine on everything. And when all the sidewalks shimmered like TV static, and I remember watching little oil rainbows twist through the puddles next to the storm drain, I was filming them with my phone, not because they were beautiful or anything, but because I liked the way they looked like they were breathing. That's when the black SUV pulled up. It didn't roll in casual like how celebrity cars do at premieres or whatever. This one came in fast and tight, tires screeching a little when it jerked into a loading zone that had 3 no parking signs. The front passenger door popped open before it even fully stopped. 2 agents in Homeland Security jackets jumped out, one of them already scanning the sidewalk like someone tipped them off there might be prep, but there wasn't. Just me. And then I saw her. She was shorter than I expected. Hoodie pulled all the way up, cobalt blue with the strings pulled so tight you could barely see her face. But it was her. You know when you've watched someone grow up in public their whole life, even through memes and red carpet clips, and you just know? Blue Ivy Carter. She moved like her mom, but not as floaty. She was all sharp and precise, like she had already rehearsed every step from car door to entrance. Nobody said anything to her. The agents just formed a loose triangle and guided her straight through the side doors, marked EMP entry only. She didn't turn. Didn't even look up when the badge scanner next to the glass doors lit up green. But the second she crossed inside, I swear I heard something click. Not the normal kind of click you hear from automatic doors. This was off, like a double click sound, a fast tap-tap, too clean and too cold. It came from the agent's walkie-talkie, which lit up for a second and then fizzled out completely. I glanced at my phone, 1:13 in the afternoon. Exactly. I don't know why I remembered that time. Maybe because I'd skipped lunch. Maybe because something about the silence after that weird click made the whole block feel like it wasn't real anymore. Like the street forgot how to sound like Los Angeles. A woman standing near the bus stop coughed and pulled her scarf up over her mouth. A car alarm down the block hiccuped twice and then stopped. Then I noticed the sprinklers on the courthouse lawn had all come on at the same time. That was weird. They usually go off in sections, one patch at a time. But now, all of them hissed at once, like the grass was choking. And the smell hit me. Burned sugar. Not like cotton candy, not sweet. More like caramel left on the stove too long. Sharp and sticky, almost smoky. I remember sniffing and blinking because I thought it might be coming from the nearby food truck, but they weren't even open yet. The scent wasn't anywhere else, just the lawn. I started filming again, but my phone glitched. The screen froze halfway through the recording. I tapped, swiped, restarted the app. Nothing. I switched to the wide lens and tried to zoom in on the building entrance. That's when I realized something was messing with the tech. My mic adapter. This little clip-on lav mic I always use for cleaner street audio was recording nothing. Just a flat line, not even ambient noise. So I stopped recording and just watched. Inside, the security area was visible through the thick, smear-streaked windows. It looked just like airport security. TSA-style gates, metal detectors, conveyor belts, trays for your bags. I could see a wand in one agent's hand, and he was moving it slowly over Blue Ivy's side. Every time it passed over her hoodie pocket, it glitched. The wand would vibrate, then freeze, then give off a weird red flicker and shut down completely. He tried twice. Same spot. Then he gave up and just nodded her through. I'm not supposed to be nosy, but that's kind of what I do. I'm not a journalist or anything fancy. I do freelance camera work for some blogs, sell short reels to local outlets if I catch the right person walking out of court. I filmed Diddy's arraignment last year and made enough off the footage to pay my rent for 2 months. That's how I started. I wasn't trying to be part of anyone's downfall. I just knew when something smelled off. And right now, something didn't just smell off. It felt like it was rotting behind a locked door. There's this rumor I read on TikTok 2 days ago. Just one of those stitched voiceover things that shows a Reddit post and zooms in while a robot reads. The caption said, "Did Blue Ivy call 911 on Beyonce?" It sounded stupid when I first heard it. Like, obviously not. Who's calling the cops on their own mom, especially when your mom is Beyonce? But the video showed something strange. What looked like a dispatch log from Los Angeles County. It had a call placed from an address in Malibu that's been linked to Beyonce before in real estate records. The caller was marked as anonymous, but the age was listed, 13. The call was made last Saturday night, and the responding unit was rerouted before arrival. The video got taken down a few hours later, but people had already reposted it, tagged it with hashtag BlueIvy911 and hashtag ParkwoodSilence. I didn't believe it. Still don't know if I do, but standing there, watching Blue Ivy glide through federal security while 2 agents nodded like they knew her, like they'd met before, it clicked. Not just the radios, my gut. Whatever this girl handed over, it wasn't schoolyard drama. It wasn't some misunderstood song lyric or leaked studio audio. It was something only she could give. And the feds were treating her like they'd been waiting for it. I moved closer to the press pen outside the east entrance. Most of the time it's full during celebrity hearings. Paparazzi leaning on barricades, interns sweating through their blazers, local radio folks yelling into mics nobody listens to. But today it was empty. Not early empty. Just intentionally empty. Like someone told them not to come. Like this wasn't supposed to be news. I pulled out my notebook. Yeah, I still carry one of those. Cheap spiral thing with bent edges and stickers from my sister's nail salon. I wrote down the time. 1:13. Wrote, burnt sugar. Wrote, thumb drive. That's when I saw the second SUV roll in. Same make, no plates. The agents didn't flinch. They kept eyes forward. The second SUV never even turned off its engine. Just stayed there, parked by the curb. I looked through the windshield and saw someone in the back seat. Couldn't see their face, just the shine of their nails tapping a phone screen. Tap, tap, tap. Then stop. And just like that, the sprinklers shut off. The burnt sugar smell vanished. My mic adapter started working again. The voice memos app suddenly filled with background noise, the normal kind. Sirens somewhere far off, wind, birds. And I realized the whole street had been held in that silence, like someone pressing pause on the city. And now the button had been lifted. Play. I started recording again. This time I didn't zoom in, just held the shot wide. I figured whoever was in that second SUV knew I was there. If they wanted me to stop, they would have told me by now. I checked my phone storage, only 15% left. I checked my bank app. The freelance outlet hadn't paid me yet. I knew what I had to do. Because whatever that girl gave them, whatever was on that drive, whatever triggered Homeland Security, the smell, the silence, the shutdown, someone was going to try to bury it. And if I was the only one who saw it happen, I wasn't going to let them. Even if it meant following that cobalt gray hoodie all the way into the dark. Chapter 2. Manager Blue, Unmasked. The first time I saw the clip, it felt harmless, just a girl on a stage. It was from the Cowboy Carter tour stop in Los Angeles, May 9th, 2025, about 6 weeks before I saw her walk into that federal building. The stadium crowd was roaring, dust lights swinging through the air like ropes, and there she was, standing right behind Beyonce at center stage during the last chorus of I Most Wanted. There's a part in the song where the beat fades out and the lights dim, and Beyonce turns to the crowd, like she always does, giving the fans a soft smile before the final beat drops. But this time, the camera panned over and caught something else. A fan near the front row held up a glitter-covered poster that said, "We love you, Manager Blue," and Blue Ivy saw it. She didn't grin, didn't wave, she just gave the sign a quick thumbs up. Just 1 second, just a blink, and the internet lost its mind. That clip has something like 11 million loops on TikTok now. The comments range from Queen in training to Blue runs the household, don't play. Her grandmother, Tina Knowles, even liked one of the fan reposts, which only added fuel. The term Manager Blue has since become part of the tour's official hashtags. People were wearing shirts with her face on them, edited into mock-ups of a clipboard and headset. One fan even dressed up as her for the next tour stop. Blazer, no smile, fake pass hanging from her neck. They made it a joke, but it wasn't one. Not really. Kept watching that clip because something in it didn't sit right. The way Blue gave that thumb up wasn't playful. It was clinical, efficient. She didn't wave to the crowd or linger on the fan or even glance at the camera. She confirmed receipt, like an operator acknowledging input, like a manager who had just approved a message and moved on. It made me think back to an old quote Beyonce gave during a GQ interview last year. She was talking about her tour riders. The legal documents artists submit before performances that lay out everything from stage conditions to green room snacks. Most artists just let their managers handle that stuff, but Beyonce made a point of saying something weird. "My daughter knows every clause in my rider," she said. "She checks the light specs before I do." People laughed when they read that, said it was another example of Beyonce raising a boss. But now, after what I saw outside that courthouse, I don't think she was joking. I think Blue Ivy was raised in those specs, not around them, inside them. You know that story about how Beyonce didn't even want to name her daughter Blue Ivy at first? That there was drama over the trademark? I never paid it much mind before, but the whole thing's been in legal limbo for over a decade. Back in 2012, shortly after Blue was born, Beyonce and Jay-Z filed to trademark the name Blue Ivy Carter for everything. Fragrance, fashion, video games, even baby gear. But there was already a wedding planning business called Blue Ivy Events, and the owner fought back. The court case dragged on for years. Most people forgot about it, but the Carters didn't. They just kept reapplying, kept the paperwork active. The most recent filing came in November 2024. It's public record. Trademark application serial number 88840737, filed under Parkwood Entertainment. The form lists the child's name as a corporate asset. No middle ground. No ambiguity. When you read that kind of thing out loud, it stops sounding like a child. It starts sounding like a brand with legs. I started digging around a little more after that, looking past the fan clips and TikToks, trying to figure out where the persona ends and the person begins. That's when I found the guy from the lighting crew. He didn't want his name used, which was fine. Said he'd been blacklisted from 3 venues after one of his TikToks got picked up by an entertainment blogger. He met me outside a donut shop near the valley, holding a rolled-up stage plot like it was a scroll. "You want to know when I got creeped out?" he asked, already halfway through his iced coffee. "It was Atlanta, second week of rehearsals." He told me that Blue Ivy was already on site before the crew arrived most mornings. She didn't have to be there, she wasn't performing that show, but she'd walk through the space with a clipboard, checking cables, counting paces between cue marks. And she carried this little black notebook, moleskin style, beat up on the edges. "We all joked she was keeping score," he said. "You know, like some prodigy control freak thing." But then, it started getting weird. He said the notebook didn't just have doodles or random thoughts. It had exact timestamps. Cue burst too early, 2:17 and 36 seconds. Rig reverb skipped, 3:11 and 14 seconds. Stuff like that. Notes on audio stutter, LED delay, even air pressure inconsistencies. Most of the crew ignored it, until one night, right before dress rehearsal, Blue walked over to the main console and tapped one of the lighting techs on the shoulder. She said, "Stage lift 4's gonna fail during the 3rd chorus. You should pull it offline." Just like that. They thought she was being dramatic, but halfway through that exact chorus, the lift jammed. One of the side panels got stuck mid-rise and almost clipped the foot of a dancer. Minor injury, no coverage. But the crew didn't joke after that. The tech didn't know how she predicted it. Said he'd seen her staring at the light board during setup, watching the LED cycle pattern like someone watching water boil. Said that sometimes, when she focused too hard on something, the overheads would flicker. Not all of them, just 2, always in pairs. I didn't believe him. Not entirely, but I still wrote it down. Because when I got home and started organizing the notes from that day, my lamp flickered. Twice, then stopped. It's possible I'm reading too much into it. That's what I keep telling myself, that maybe she's just sharp, raised in rooms with acoustics experts and lighting engineers and billion-dollar visuals, that it's not supernatural. It's exposure. But something about the consistency of those flickers, the rhythm, the timing, it feels mechanical, like a silent metronome only she can hear. I scrolled back through some of the other fan footage from the tour. Little things started to pop out. In Dallas, the backup mics all cut for a single beat during Energy, just long enough for Beyonce to glance behind her shoulder. Blue wasn't even performing that night, but she was backstage, visible for 2 seconds on the behind-the-scenes cam, nodding once. In Chicago, the pyrotechnics flared too early. A lighting tech with a GoPro caught a flash of movement behind the rig. Blue Ivy walking calmly away, with her notebook tucked under one arm. Over time, the manager Blue memes shifted. It wasn't just fan love, it became a kind of badge of fear. Not dislike, respect, but unease. Like she wasn't just helping her mom's career, she was steering it. Like the family knew she was better at running things than they were. There's this phrase people keep using in the comments under the viral clips, poise is practiced. But maybe it's not. Maybe for her, poise isn't about practice at all. Maybe it's about survival. She was born into a kingdom that demanded obedience from everyone but worshipped only her. That can mess with a kid. Or mold them into something colder, something more exact. The woman from the food truck outside the courthouse last week told me something else. Said she used to see Blue Ivy walk around the courthouse plaza as a little girl. This was back when Jay-Z had that arbitration case in 2017. She said Blue never ran around, never yelled, just walked, slow and steady, like someone whose footsteps had already been measured. I haven't seen the notebook myself, but I think about it all the time now. I think about the light flickers, the static, the thumb drive, The way the metal wand glitched at her hoodie pocket, the hush that followed her. And I keep wondering, when does a child stop being a child and start being something else? Something trained, something programmed, or worse, something plugged in. Chapter 3. Miami Echo. I didn't think I'd ever go back to Miami. Not after what happened the last time I tried to follow a lead out here. The dead-end court hearing, the security guard that kept asking if I was press or pest, and the expensive hotel that locked me out of my room halfway through checkout. I swore I wouldn't get involved with another story in Florida, but that was before I saw the initials on the Homeland Security printout. Minor subject Big 13. It wasn't even handed to me on purpose. I was at a print center on Sunset, getting a new memory card reader since mine shorted out the week before, when the guy behind the counter shoved the wrong envelope in my hand. Plain manila, no sticker, but I knew it wasn't mine the second I opened it. The top page was redacted, all to hell, like a crossword puzzle someone gave up on, but the header was still clear. United States Department of Homeland Security, Field Incident Report. Date, April 18, 2025. Location, Star Island, Miami Beach, FL. Operation Code, Lantern 6. Agency Coordination, HSI, FBI, ICE, DOJ. That alone would have been enough, but halfway down the third page, there it was. Minority subject Big 13 provided verbal statement regarding subterranean holding rooms. Evidence transfer drive ID Big 131. Big Blue Ivy Carter. I don't care how good your poker face is, when your initials start showing up in federal paperwork tied to underground facilities and sealed drives, something is not right. That file wasn't supposed to exist, and if it did, it wasn't supposed to land in my hands. The Homeland Security raid on Sean Diddy Combs' compound happened in April. Star Island, Miami Beach. The tabloids ran footage of armed agents swarming the gated mansion just after sunrise, drones circling the roofline, black bags being carried out. The official story? Money laundering, narcotics, and trafficking leads tied to previous lawsuits. Unofficially, the internet had a lot more to say. One TikTok went viral showing a young girl in a red hoodie being escorted out of what looked like a wine cellar. It had a dark stairwell, cement walls, and old wooden racks that looked like they hadn't held bottles in years. The caption said, "Blue Ivy rescued from Diddy's underground freak room? Blue in the basement. Stars Island raid, Bic 131. The clip was fake. I mean, maybe not entirely, it was hard to tell. Reuters did a full piece debunking it. They said the girl in the clip was likely a local from a different video, that the CNN logo was badly edited, and that no such footage existed in the official raid materials. But that didn't stop people from reposting it. You can't unplant an idea once it's in someone's head, and the idea that Blue Ivy was inside Diddy's house during that raid spread like smoke through a closed room. A week after the video dropped, Homeland Security sealed the raid files. The press stopped asking questions, and Beyonce's Instagram posted a picture of a lion cub made entirely out of Swarovski crystals. No caption. The story should have died there, but it didn't, because that drive Big 131, was real. I flew out to Miami 2 days after I saw the paperwork, paid for it myself, stayed in a Rochi hostel in Little Havana with locks that barely worked. I spent most of the first day just walking, trying not to be obvious. I still wasn't sure who knew I had the file. I was careful, but not careful enough to stay away. That's when I got the message. It posted in a very specific, very dead Reddit thread asking if anyone remembered hearing foghorns on the day of the Star Island raid. Not sirens, foghorns. Big distinction. I didn't expect anyone to answer, but someone did. The username was EchoX13 and the reply was just one sentence. Why? Because there has been no If you want the real story, meet me at Versailles Cafe tomorrow at 2 p.m. Order the Cuban sandwich. I thought it was a joke, but I went anyway. Versailles was packed like always, sweaty with tourists and impatient locals. I found a table by the window and ordered what they said. Cuban sandwich, iced coffee. No one looked at me twice. I waited 40 minutes. Just when I was about to leave, a man slid into the chair across from me. He looked like someone's cousin who works at TSA but always forgets their ID. Black windbreaker, thinning hair, hands that kept fidgeting with a sugar packet. He didn't introduce himself, just nodded once, then pulled a napkin from his pocket and placed it on the table. In the center was a thumb drive. No label, just a sticker. The number 131 written in black Sharpie. "This isn't the drive," he said. "That's long gone, but this is a copy of the metadata." I asked him how he got it. "I worked audio surveillance for Homeland before I got benched. It's not the trafficking that's new. It's the people turning stuff in." This one didn't come from a whistleblower or an undercover. It came from a child. A brand name one, at that. He said Blue Ivy walked into the makeshift field station, set up in a chartered room at the Miami-Dade Marina, accompanied by 2 unknown escorts and 1 federal observer. No parents, no lawyer, just her and a small cobalt bag. She didn't flinch, he said, didn't ask for water. She waited for the room to clear, opened her bag, pulled out the drive, and said, "You'll hear it before you see it." I wrote it down immediately. He kept going. Said they scanned the drive for malware. Found none. Just a locked folder titled BIC root and 6 encrypted audio files, each labeled with a number. 113 wave 113b. Wait 1_BC. .wab. Root _whisper wow. Whisper _1. Proof _of room 20 web. Luxury and shuffle. They couldn't open them at the time, but one agent put on a headset and tried playing back 113 wave directly through a field encoder. "That's when the barge horn started," he said. I asked him what barge. "Exactly," he said. He swore that out of nowhere, in the middle of a bright, cloudless day, a barge off the Biscayne Bay let out a single foghorn blast, then another, exactly 13 in total. And here's the part that really stuck with me. He said it didn't sound right. Not like a horn. Not exactly. He said it sounded like something imitating a horn. The pitch was off, almost metallic. Digital. And at the same time, every piece of recording equipment in the surveillance room flatlined, just blanked out. Recorder logs showed time codes holding at 0:01 and 13 seconds, even when the file had been running for longer. Audio peaks vanished. All that was left was static. Not white noise, just absence. The agent sitting across from me stirred his coffee and said, "It's like she brought a vacuum, something that knew how to eat sound." I didn't know what to say to that, so I asked the dumbest question I could. "Do you think she made the audio?" He didn't laugh, didn't blink, just looked me dead in the eye and said, "I don't think she made it. I think she channeled it." I left the cafe an hour later, the thumb drive metadata sheet folded in my back pocket. I walked the marina, passing all the empty slips and swaying ropes. My recorder was on the entire time. Nothing strange happened. No horns, no glitches. But when I got back to my room and started to play back the file, I noticed something odd. The time code on my recorder was frozen at 1 minute and 13 seconds. I'd been walking for 34 minutes, but the file still locked at 00:01:13. I don't know how to explain what I'm in the middle of. But I think that drive, the one she handed over to federal agents during a child trafficking raid tied to two of the most powerful men in music, was more than just a folder of audio. It was a warning, and we've only just started hearing it. Chapter 4. Kiara's Roar. I didn't want to watch the red carpet footage again. Not after everything I'd learned about Blue in Miami. Not after that foghorn. Not after the 13-second blackout on my recorder. But the video kept surfacing in my feed. I wasn't even following the hashtags. TikTok just decided I needed to see it. Over and over. It's from the Mufasa the Lion King premiere. December 20th and 24, at the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood. A long shot of the gold and black step and repeat. Flashbulbs screaming fans. An actual lion statue in front of the velvet ropes. People were calling it the new royal carpet. Because Beyonce and Blue Ivy weren't just showing up, they were the show. She wore a gold Christian Suriano gown, no sleeves, high collar, trained like liquid metal. There was a photo where the camera caught the fabric right as it bent under the lights, and the glare made it look like her silhouette was vanishing into the flash. Everyone reposted that one, said she looked untouchable. Didn't see untouchable. I saw someone pretending not to breathe. Barry Jenkins, the film's director, had done a few interviews around that time. One in particular stuck with me. It was for People magazine. The interviewer asked how Blue Ivy ended up voicing Kiara in the film, and Jenkins said something I still haven't made sense of. She auditioned like everyone else, he said. Her parents weren't involved. Her performance came from someplace, separate, expressive, but not performative. There's something incredibly ancient about the way she delivered that role. Ancient. It's the kind of word a director uses when they can't explain what they saw in someone's voice, when it doesn't quite make sense on paper, but when it feels right, or real, or in this case, maybe too real. The performance was subtle. She didn't overact, no dramatic yelling, no teary dramatics. Just a softness, a steadiness in her voice that didn't belong to someone 13 years old. At the premiere, they played an extended clip of the film for the press. Kiara talking to her father Simba under a starry sky. A moment of doubt, a moment of asking what legacy means. It wasn't even the words that hit people, it was the humming. There's a bit where Kiara hums to herself before speaking. A quiet, wandering melody with no lyrics. Everyone said it felt like a lullaby. People on Twitter even asked if it was lifted from Beyonce's I Am, Sasha Fierce album. But it wasn't. The sound editors said it was improvised. She did it during recording, between takes, off-screen. At first, no one thought much of it, but a few weeks later, a sound engineer leaked an internal email thread. It was short, just 4 lines. Is anyone else feeling weird listening to Kiara's hum? Waveform shows subharmonics below range, 13 Hz persistent. Causes physical discomfort in some testers, headaches, nausea. This wasn't in the original mix. I found a screenshot of the email, and then I found something worse. A cracked version of the raw clip posted on a locked Discord server. It was supposed to be a watermark test. No dialogue, no effects, just the clean studio audio. It starts with Blue's hum. Soft, barely audible, but if you play it loud enough, or with headphones, it sinks under your skin like pressure. It doesn't sound like music, it sounds like a dial tone on the ocean floor. A sound that shouldn't exist outside of machines. I could only listen for 20 seconds before I started sweating, not just discomfort, a full-body rejection. And when I checked the timestamp on the media player, 1 minute 13 seconds, exactly when the nausea peaked. I shut the file. I wanted to delete it. I didn't. I don't know why. Here's the part that messes with me. In August of 2025, Parkwood got hit with another lawsuit. A composer claimed that Beyonce's track Alien Superstar used a vocal sample that hadn't been cleared properly. A bizarre one, buried under layers of synth and reverb. It wasn't the first time this song came up in court, but this time the plaintiff was specific. They said the hum, the one under the bridge, low-pitched and off-rhythm, wasn't in the original cut, that it was inserted later, that it didn't come from any published catalog, that it sounded artificially human. And I started thinking, what if the hum from Kiara's lullaby wasn't just improvised? What if it got lifted, reused, or worse, planted? What if that was the real uncleared sample? A child's voice, untraceable but dangerous. I took the cleaned version of the lullaby and tried something I probably shouldn't have. I overlaid it onto some footage I had saved from the courthouse. Video of the federal buses rolling out of the Wilshire Annex, the day I saw Blue Ivy enter with those Homeland agents. I edited in the hum under the idle bus engines, posted it privately, sent it to 3 friends. No commentary, just told them to watch it. Each of them reported something different. One got dizzy. One said her ears popped halfway through the clip. And the third, she messaged me an hour later saying she had a migraine behind her right eye and kept hearing the hum even after she muted the video. I opened the analytics. All of them had paused the clip at 1 minute and 13 seconds. That's not a coincidence anymore. That's something else. I tried watching the full video again the next day, headphones on, volume low, but my mic started feeding back through the speakers, and I swear to God, the waveform on my screen started pulsing, like it was breathing. I don't know what this sound is, but I don't think it belongs in any Disney movie, and I don't think Blue Ivy meant for it to be heard. There's a pattern here, one nobody wants to admit. A 13-year-old is being credited with improvised vocal takes that contain sub-bass frequencies known to trigger physical symptoms. Frequencies not typically used in music because they don't register as melodies. They register as warnings. And what's worse, someone at Parkwood is burying it under high-gloss visuals, under sparkly gowns and film premieres, and behind-the-scenes footage of Blue Ivy brushing her mother's hair. They're repackaging a signal as performance. They're hiding it in plain sight. And we're all just clapping for it. I keep watching the red carpet clip, not because I want to, but because I feel like I have to. There's a frame 3 seconds in where Blue Ivy tilts her head just slightly to the left. You can barely see it unless you slow the video down. But right at that moment, the flashbulbs burst in a staccato pattern. 1 flash, then 2, then 1 again. And I swear the camera shakes, just a little. It as if the ground itself reacts to her. As if everything around her is tuned just a bit off frequency. She smiles, just for a moment, a small smile. And I wonder if she knows. If she knows what's inside her voice. If she knows what she left behind on that drive. If she knows what we're all hearing now. Or if she's been humming it her whole life. Chapter 5, Sweatshop Souls. I was barely halfway through uploading the courthouse audio overlays when I got the message. It wasn't from any source I recognized. No burner number, no Reddit username I could track. Just an email sent through a foreign proxy, time-stamped 3 a.m, subject line blank. The body of the message said only this: "You want proof? Look at the threads they don't tag." Attached were 6 JPEGs. Low-res, grainy, metadata scrubbed clean. But the failing caught my breath before I even opened the first one. I admit a frequent fist to my face. Kiara _holiday_final_ skew 131 _HDNG, followed by Kiara _holiday _final_ skew 131 _B. IZA blank blank. Kiara _holiday_final_SKU 121_CC MGM INP SEM Kelpie. I knew that SKU. I'd seen it before. On a tag hanging from a limited edition Kiara and Simba Unity hoodie sold during the teaser launch of Mufasa the Lion King. It was part of the official Disney X Ivy Park capsule collection, which dropped in late November. Sold out in 6 minutes. Instagram blew up with influencers wearing them, calling them royalty wear. But no one talked about where the clothes were made. I clicked the first photo. It was a warehouse, the kind you've seen in 1,000 documentaries. Cement floor, rusted fan bolted crooked to the ceiling, long rows of metal tables. In the middle of the frame was a girl, maybe 8, barefoot, her knees tucked under her as she leaned over a sewing machine with wires taped together. She was wearing the same Unity hoodie. The gold stitching glittered faintly in the low light. The second photo showed 2 more kids. Boys this time. One had a bandaged finger. Both were wearing the hoodie. One tag dangled out of frame. I zoomed in, but the image distorted too quickly. The third photo had no children, just a table of boxes, each labeled in Sharpie, Kiara/Deck/Red/US. One box had a red sticker marked X13. I couldn't breathe for a few seconds. I'd read about Ivy Park's labor controversies before. Back in 2016, the brand launched with loud claims of female empowerment and economic justice, but within months, headlines out of Sri Lanka surfaced. Reports said workers, mostly women, were making 44 pence an hour stitching sportswear in a factory outside Colombo. Sweatshop in disguise, one watchdog called it. I remember Beyonce's reps denied everything, called it a smear campaign. They said they were investigating. But the story got buried, and over time people forgot. Until now. I clicked the fourth photo. Same warehouse, same hoodie, but this time, in the bottom corner, I saw something scribbled on the cement wall behind the girl. 2 lion heads, crude drawings, facing each other. Twins. My hand started to shake. I opened the 5th image, and it just went black. The file loaded, then flickered, then collapsed into a corrupted thumbnail of pixel static. When I hovered my mouse over it, the thumbnail shape warped into a jagged outline that looked eerily familiar. 2 curved heads, facing each other, their mouths open, as if roaring. I blinked and reopened the 4th file, but it wouldn't load. Neither would the others. I closed the folder and opened it again. All 6 files were gone, in their place. 6 blank thumbnails labeled "View Limit Exceeded." I opened the system log. Each photo had been opened exactly 13 times. No more, no less. And now they were gone. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run down the hallway of my apartment and tell someone, anyone, that I'd just seen proof of child labor tied to Ivy Park. But who would believe me, and even if they did? What was I going to do? Post grainy screenshots with no context? Get sued into silence? Or worse, accused of exploiting kids to chase clout? Bliss bonds. I didn't know what to do until I got the second message. This time it came through a signal drop from a known source, someone who used to work in Parkwood's product logistics team before they got quietly laid off in March. No press release, no farewell post, just gone. They send me a screenshot, a group chat, Parkwood Ops /Q4 Prep. Thread, timestamp, December 3, 2024. Sender, bic_user_1. The message read, "This isn't empowerment, it's math on kids' bones." I read it again, and again. I knew that tag. I knew those initials. Lou, I've caught her. She sent it during a merch review thread, right after someone posted sales forecasts for the Kiara holiday drop. Apparently, she'd seen the same photos I had. Or worse, maybe she'd been in the room when the sourcing report came in. Maybe she'd asked where the samples were stitched. Maybe someone answered, and maybe that's the moment she cracked. People don't understand how these things happen. They think celebrities have no idea where their products come from. That's not always true. Sometimes they know. Sometimes they know exactly. But the machine keeps moving. Faster, louder, slicker. Until the kids wearing the hoodie in Colombo look like the ones buying it in Chicago. Until nobody can tell the difference. I sat there staring at the screen, wondering what Blue thought would happen when she sent that message. Did she think someone would stop the drop? Did she think her voice mattered more than the profit margins? Or was she just documenting the moment? Like she always did, like with the notebook, like with the drive, just writing it down so it couldn't disappear. The next day, I opened a blank Word doc, tried to write up what I'd seen, tried to piece together the emails, the photos, the names, but I stopped. I couldn't bring myself to hit save, because if I published this, I'd be putting those kids' faces online, kids who never asked to be part of any of this, kids who couldn't fight back. And for what? So people could repost it with hashtags? So someone could say, OMG, she's complicit in the comments section? I thought about Blue again. Worn into the machine, raised in the storm, made into a symbol before she could even walk. Maybe that message wasn't meant for Parkwood. Maybe it was meant for someone like me. Warning, not a whistle. I closed the laptop, burned the files to a blank DVD, wrote BICKX13 on it with a black marker, and locked it in the drawer next to the courthouse footage. I don't know if I'll ever release it, but it's real. It happened, and I know she tried to stop it. Chapter 6, the 2000 tape. The box was already on my doorstep when I got home. No label, no return address, just an old gray clamshell case, the kind you'd find in the back of a thrift store, with faded corners and the texture of melted dust. Taped to the front was a torn index card, one line scribbled in red ink. BMA loading dock camera 7. I stared at it for a long time before bringing it inside. It was light. Too light to be anything digital. I knew what it was before I opened it. Inside, a black VHS tape. No sticker, just the number 2000 written in Sharpie across the edge, followed by a colon and 1:13 and 0 seconds. I didn't have a working VCR, but I knew someone who did. I called Felix. Felix lives 3 floors below me. Retired, used to digitize wedding tapes in the early 2000s before everyone switched to DVDs. His entire apartment is a graveyard of outdated formats, Hi8, Beta, Laserdisc, even old reel-to-reels that hiss when the fan kicks on. I told him I needed a quick playback, no copy, just view only. Felix doesn't ask questions, he just grunted and said, "Bring snacks." The VCR he used was plugged into a 19-inch tube TV, the kind with curved glass that reflects your own face back at you like a ghost. We inserted the tape and waited. At first, nothing but static, gray and twitching with the occasional flicker of movement that looked more like shadow than video. A time code rolled across the bottom of the screen in bright white digits. We fast-forwarded. The image glitched. Lines broke the picture in half, but it kept pushing forward. Until it hit 1:13 and 0 seconds IM. Then it stopped on its own. I didn't touch anything. The machine just jolted and froze, and for a moment the screen was still. That's when we heard it. The audio was faint, garbled under what sounded like club bass, muffled through multiple walls. But it was there, crying, not wailing, not screaming, just soft, strained sobs. the kind someone makes when they're trying not to be heard. A teenage girl, maybe younger, breathing fast, slurred words, maybe a name, then the scrape of shoes on concrete, then music again, louder now, then nothing. Felix turned to me, face pale. "Is this real?" I didn't answer. I didn't know. Ask if we could pause it and zoom in. He frowned. "This isn't CSI, it's a VHS." But he tried. In the corner of the frame, under the flickering dock light, we could just make out two figures, blurred, warped by old tape degradation. One was wearing a large jacket. The other, taller, heavier, was standing beside a rolling crate. You couldn't see faces, not clearly. But then I remembered something the junior agent told me back in Miami. He said that one of the files Blue handed over, root_wisp, wasn't audio at all. It was a hidden image buried in spectrographic data. The AI lab at her school had been running a new experimental plugin that could revisualize low-resolution video using audio-based depth cues, and Blue used it. The agent said the folder contained a single still frame, just one, frame frozen and upscaled, and in it, under the dock light, a man's neck turned just enough to catch a reflection. A herringbone chain, silver, thick, the kind Jay-Z wore in every appearance from 1999 to 2001. They said it matched frame for frame with a Getty Images photo from that same night, Jay-Z exiting the VMA after-party at the Hammerstein Ballroom wearing the same coat, same chain. The implication was clear, and now the tape, this old static-laced VHS, was somehow syncing with that exact moment. I asked Felix to rewind, just to double-check. But when we did, something strange happened. The tape didn't roll back the way it should have. It jumped. The time code snapped back to 1:13 and 0 seconds and froze, even when the machine kept spinning. It was like the video didn't exist outside that minute, like everything before and after was burned away. Then, I smelled it. That burnt sugar scent again, but stronger this time, plastic, almost chemical. The VCR's vents started hissing, and Felix yanked the plug from the wall before it could overheat. The tape was warm when he ejected it, not just from playback, from something else. We sat there for a minute in silence. The apartment felt heavy, like the air had weight. Back upstairs, I found an envelope under my door. Inside, a letter printed on thick paper with the Parkwood logo faintly embossed across the bottom. Cease and desist notice. RV, alleged possession and distribution of falsified audiovisual materials of defamatory nature, targeting Mr. Sean Carter and affiliates. It was 3 pages long. Legal threats, signature lines, and somewhere near the end, a sentence that made my stomach turn. We are prepared to offer a non-disclosure playlist, licensing agreement, including lifetime royalties based on quarterly asset silence metrics, contingent upon full deletion and non-publication of the aforementioned material. Dated licensing agreement. I didn't even know what that was until I looked it up. Turns out it's a new model used in influencer contracts, where NDAs are hidden inside music licensing deals. You get paid, sure, monthly even, but only if you don't speak, only if you keep everything quiet, and they track you through automated listening metrics. Playlists, metadata, silence as currency. They wanted to buy my silence and turn it into background noise. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened the envelope the tape had come in. Inside the clamshell case, hidden behind the plastic cover, was another piece of paper folded into fourths. It had no header, no signature. Just this. Blue ran it through 3 filters. There's a second voice at 1:13 and 18 seconds. Play the static backward. I froze. I ran the file again, this time from the digital copy I made before the VCR fried. I extracted the audio, inverted it, boosted the frequencies. And sure enough, under the sobbing, under the beat, under the hiss, where's the voice? Muffled, male, only one word came through. I don't know who said it. I don't know if it was the girl, or someone else, or the tape itself trying to claw back to the surface after 2 decades of burial. All I know is that Blue found it, extracted it, labeled it, and handed it to the federal government. She didn't post about it, didn't tweet, didn't threaten. She just ran the filters, froze the frame, sent the drive, like she'd done this before, and like she was trained to. And now I'm sitting here, wondering what comes next. What happens when a teenage girl finds the echo of a crime that never made the headlines? What happens when the silence starts talking? And what happens when it says her father's name, Parkwood Wren? By the time the sun went down, the sky over my apartment felt wrong. Too clear, too smooth, not a single plane overhead, no clouds, no breeze, just a static sheet of dusk. Like someone laid blue velvet across the city and forgot to iron the creases. I had 6 hours left. The file transfer was crawling. A full dump of Blue's archived audio files, screenshots, encrypted metadata folders was crawling its way into a dead man's cloud account I'd set up years ago, back when I still thought stories like this had endings. It was 131 gigabytes in total, which felt too poetic to be a coincidence. Every timestamp, every sound file, every redacted doc I'd scraped from the courthouse footage and the raid briefs and the whistleblower leaks, it was all packed into a private vault that would auto-distribute to 15 pre-selected journalists if I didn't hit the kill switch by midnight. I kept refreshing the upload bar, even though I knew it wouldn't help. 22%. Then 23, then frozen again. Then came the sound. Buzzing, low at first, like distant cicadas, then louder, closer. A flutter that wasn't organic, a pattern. I looked out my window and saw 3 of them, drones. Not the kind from Best Buy, not the loud, clumsy ones with blinking lights and plastic propellers. These were different. Matte black, silent, no identifying markers. They hovered just outside the glass, close enough that I could see the lenses on their undersides twitching. Click, click, bon, click, click. The same rhythm I'd heard back at the courthouse. Double click, static. Like a coded signal repeating itself through metal. I backed away from the window, checked my phone. 3 new notifications, none from apps I recognized. The first was from my bank. Mortgage paid in full. Courtesy code 181. The second was a file transfer request from an unknown airdrop sender. No name, just an icon of a lion's head, drawn in shaky, childlike lines. The third was a message encrypted through a disappearing text app I'd only ever used once before. The sender field was blank. The message read, "They'll erase the drive first, then me. Run the pulse." I sat down, hands shaking, mouth dry. There was no name, but I knew who it was. Lou. I don't know how she got my contact. Don't know how she knew the drive was being cloned, but she did. And she wanted me to run the pulse. The lullaby. The 13 hertz hum buried inside Kiara's voice, inside the courthouse file, inside the waveforms that kept making people sick. The one she improvised but never claimed. She wasn't asking me to leak it. She was asking me to broadcast it. I grabbed my field mic kit, cobbled together from old ham radio gear and the kind of surveillance junk you find at swap meets if you know what to ask for. My parabolic dish wasn't studio grade. It was an old satellite TV dish mounted on a steel food cart with bungee cords, but it worked. I slung the gear into a duffel and made for the fire escape. The rooftop was 6 stories up. I ran every step, lungs burning, backpack bouncing against my spine. I kept expecting the drones to follow, to dive in, to knock me off the ladder. But they didn't. They hovered, waiting. The city below was glowing, too brightly. The streetlights had started flickering. Not in that lazy, broken bulb way. I'm saying, every 13 seconds, every lamppost in a 3-block radius pulsed once, then went dark, then lit up again. One day a woman went missing, and there were more explanations than 13 seconds. It was happening. I reached the roof, nearly dropped the dish trying to pull it up after me, then scrambled across the gravel toward the AT&T cell tower on the corner unit. My building was close enough to the grid that I could angle the mic toward the tower's base and piggyback on its low-band frequencies. I calibrated the dish, shaking, sweating, set the mic to loop the root_whisper wave file, boosted gain, tuned to the amateur band. Didn't even bother with encryption. Then I hit play. At first, nothing. Then a low tremble. Not a sound exactly. More like pressure, like something pushing outward from the center of my brain. My teeth started to clack in rhythm. The metal frame of the dish began to hum, gently at first, then louder. I looked down. Pigeons were spiraling out of the sky, not dropping dead, just collapsing, like their bodies couldn't process where up was anymore. One hit the sidewalk and flopped twice before going still. The upload on my phone ticked to 58%. I turned the speaker volume higher. The buildings across the street began to strobe, not visibly, but internally. You could see apartments blinking on and off, like someone was flicking the power grids in patterns. Click, click, pause, click, click. My hands were numb. I couldn't feel my fingertips. My gums itched. But the broadcast was working. Hips moving. In the distance, sirens howled. But not police sirens. These were shorter, hollow, like evacuation warnings, only pitched lower, more like a threat than a request. And under all of it, that same faint smell. Burnt sugar. From the roof vents, from the metal railings, from my own jacket, it coated everything, sweet and toxic. The drive upload ticked to 79%. I checked the signal bounce. My broadcast was being picked up, first in Pasadena, then West LA, then as far out as Burbank. Local HAMs were posting on emergency forums. People were reporting nosebleeds, nausea, but also clarity. One user claimed they saw something behind their eyelids when the hum peaked. A pattern. A symbol. 2 lion heads. Facing each other. I turned the volume up one more notch. That's when the towers sparked. Not a full blowout, just a burst, a tiny pop at the tip of the repeater. But it was enough. Enough to shut off the building's power grid. The rooftop lights died. The stairwell behind me went black. And in that silence, I heard something. From the voice, not coming from my mic, not from my phone, from inside my own mouth. Repeating a phrase I didn't remember learning. Poem 13. Always forward, never mirrored. I repeated it 3 times before I realized I was doing it. The upload hit 100%. The dead man's cloud confirmed receipt. The drive was out. They couldn't stop it now. I collapsed onto the gravel, breathing through clenched teeth, jaw sore from the tremor still vibrating in my spine. The city lights below were flickering faster now. 12 seconds, then 11, then 10. It wouldn't stop. I didn't know what I had released, only that she asked me to. And I did. Because if Blue Ivy Carter could dig up the past, decode it, and still have the courage to whisper the future, then the least I could do was give her the tower. Chapter 8. 13-second silence. By morning, the sky over Los Angeles looked like it had been scrubbed raw. Not clear, Not peaceful, just hollow. A dull haze hung over the skyline, a yellowed quiet that settled on rooftops and antenna towers like ash after a fireworks show. Nothing moved. Even the birds were quiet. There were no leaf blowers, no traffic bursts on La Brea, not even a dog barking in the distance. The city felt like it was holding its breath. And that's when the tickers started. Local news loops ran the same banner. Unverified audio anomaly, prompt temporary emergency band disruption. The segments were brief, underdeveloped, clipped, padded by anchor chatter. One network said the Los Angeles Police Department's comms had glitched overnight, cutting out at exactly 1 minute and 13 seconds into their morning system check. The LAPD denied any connection to private audio activity. FEMA said it was a false alarm. Verizon blamed a tower miscalibration. And Parkwood? A single-line press release appeared at 6:17 a.m. Due to a family emergency, the remaining dates of the Cowboy Carter tour have been postponed indefinitely. No further comment. Beyonce's Instagram wiped its story highlights. Blue Ivy's fan accounts went dark. But one post survived. A shaky clip filmed from a fence line near Van Nuys Airport showed Jay-Z walking up the boarding ramp of a Gulfstream jet. He didn't wave, didn't stop for the tarmac crew. Just ahead of him was a child, shorter than Blue, face hidden under a black hoodie. But the camera caught one detail as they climbed the steps. A lion tail keychain hanging from the child's backpack. Gold, frayed at the tip, swinging once in the wind. Watched that clip 6 times before I looked away. I don't know if it was her. I don't know if it matters. Because by that point, I had already done what she asked. I uploaded the file, the IC-13 oath wave. Just 13 seconds long, no waveform on playback, no peaks, no troughs, just a flat line. I posted it to my private site and left no instructions. No hashtags, no context, just the file. But people figured it out anyway. A few sound engineers pulled it into Audacity and boosted the gain. That's when the pattern revealed itself. Not sound, not music, just alternating blocks of full-scale digital black. Solid black silence. Then nothing, then black again. And in between, 2 audible clicks. Then a low throb, barely audible unless you turned the gain up to plus 36 decibels. Users started timestamping. Click at 003-47. Second throb at 0091. I felt it behind my eyes. My screen dimmed for half a second when I hit play. I couldn't hear anything, but my dog left the room. The subreddit exploded. People started comparing maps, claiming they could feel the hum in Long Beach. Others swore they heard a subway break in Queens stutter on the exact second they hit play. Some said they dreamed in reverse. Some said they didn't dream at all. I watched the reactions pile in like an avalanche. I had no idea how to stop. But there was no undo button, because Blue was gone, or hidden, or silenced, or maybe she became something else entirely. I sat there at my desk, headphones dangling, the hum still ghosting around the corners of my hearing. And then my phone buzzed. One notification. Your account balance is $1,300,001.31. Negative. Not overdrafted. Negative. Like someone took it. Like the number wasn't just a fee or a glitch, but a message. 13.0001.31. Didn't even know accounts could show that much red. I turned the phone over. The charging port was warm. Too warm. And then I smelled it. Burnt sugar. Faint. Rising from the seam near the volume buttons. The same smell I'd tracked since the courthouse. Since the Notebook. Since Miami. Since the rooftop. I put the phone down and stared at the waveform again. Not because I wanted to analyze it. Not because I wanted to decode the black blocks or the throb or the static. But because I wanted to remember. Remember what a voice looks like when it refuses to be erased. Blue didn't shout. She didn't scream. She hummed. She filtered. She made silence louder. And somehow we still heard her. That's why I left the file up. No password, no limit, no compression. Here's the smell. Boost the gain 36 decibels. If you hear 2 clicks followed by a low throb, timestamp it. Maybe we'll map how far the pulse traveled. Maybe we'll never know where it ends. Maybe it doesn't.